Good afternoon, everybody. In 1 month, we are closing 3 years of experience in novelog-project, working with an excellent team on city logistics. And I'm here in a very difficult position that I have to compress all this experience in 15 minutes for all of you in order to start this productive discussions in the afternoon. So the novelog is about new cooperative business models and guidance for sustainable city logistics. And what we did, we faced the same requirements as Ardar mentioned at the beginning, and we created as an objective the provision of practical approaches to local authorities and industry for adopting innovative and sustainable city logistics solutions. Also, we put as an objective in front of us that we want to support the cities who participate in our project to prove that they can manage the change and from separate pilots activities that has been done in the past, many of them in city logistics, they become and they realize what we call integrated city logistics planning. And in fact, our objective was to, for non-responsibility that we have faced in many of the cities, so 1 person or 0 person responsible for city logistics, to achieve a status of common responsibility, to generate knowledge from the experience of all the stakeholders, to governance all these actors together, to create a strategic vision for each one of our cities, and then select UFT measures, not only one that has been implemented, but many that create a plan and help all the stakeholders to achieve what we call innovative business models and define how these actors, they need to cooperate. So it was a holistic approach, if you want to say. That was our first objective for planning on UFT. The second objective was to implement this, and we promised that we implement it in 12 cities. So you see a lot of Italian ones, Turin, Venice, regional also logistics in Emilia-Romagna, Pisa, Rome, Athens in the south, and Barcelona. And then London, Mechelen, Graz, Copenhagen, and Göteborg in the north. So different countries, different needs, different cities, different levels of maturity for working in integrated plan for urban freight, but all of them having the same objective to achieve a more sustainable and livable city. So who undertook the role to implement these 2 objectives that I mentioned? A very well-balanced consortium with research and academia, regional and the local authorities, industrial actors, association networks, and consultants as a multiplier that also was driving the force for the collaboration of the different actors, public and private, together. This consortium had, as I said, 12 cities, but also a big amount of partners that are needed when you need to conclude on solutions, gaining also from previous experience. So what are the project outcomes to the logistics community? There are 7 of them. The first, the real implementations in 12 cooperative UFT solutions. As you see here, we had all the types of challenges. So the 24 deliverable of city logistics, how we can use ITS, how we do more consolidation and cargo bundling, intermodality, micro-distribution, and also use of public transport for freight delivery. So all these cases has been implemented in the 12 different cases. So we had home delivery and e-commerce in Graz. We have ITS for sustainable access control and increased load factor and checking load factor of vehicles. In Turin, we have urban consolidation in Rome, micro-consolidation and lockers in Mechelen, the rail-road combination for reducing number of vehicles for city logistics in Athens, cargo bikes and B2B for B2B and B2C in Graz, and electric vehicles also to Barcelona and cargo bikes also to Barcelona. So a lot of cooperations between different stakeholders, logistics service providers, shippers and receivers, public and infrastructure providers, not being partners in our project, but being parts of the community that has been created in each one of the novelog cities for achieving this integrated planning and implementing solutions that will stay after the end of the project. And let me give you an example. Sometimes they ask you, who are your industrial partners? Well, this novelog project was about community creation in its city. All of them, they should participate. And here is an example of our case in Turin. Here are the actors cooperating for this ITS monitored access control for achieving increased load factor in the cities. And here are the technological operators that has been used for this implementation. And you have a poster presentation where you can learn more about each one of the pilots and specifically also this one. The second outcome, everybody speaks about SULPs. And we had a lot of discussion. SAMPs, SULPs, separate together. Novelog suggests that we need to have SALPs, Sustainable Urban Logistics Plans in the cities, pushed by Commission and by other authorities in the same way it has been done for SAMPs. So SAMP is there for creating general objectives. But sustainable urban logistics plans, where you speak with the private sector, you cannot just say, I envision a city open with public space. You need to speak in monetary terms to those industrial actors. And here what we have developed, we took the ELTIS approach and we have customized it, adopted for sustainable urban logistics plan implementation, development. And here are our guidelines, our draft guidelines. The project finished at the end of May, and we're going to have the final, and they're also available here for you to review it today. The third thing, data collection. What to collect, why I should collect, how I will solve the problem of fragmentation that also Sardar mentioned. A big issue at the beginning, and especially a big issue for the planning. So what we did, we organized the data collection framework for UFT. We defined 4 pillars. So major supply chain profile, urban freight and service trips activity mapping, organization and legal framework that exists, assessment of it, and then procedural and technological methods and innovation that has been used in each one of the city. And we have presented to all our participants the way for collecting, what data sets to collect, what methods to apply for implement these methods, for analyze these data sets, and then how to use the results of these methods. So one approach for urban freight transport planning data, data for describing the UFT of a city, and data for assessing a UFT measure implementation. And this is a valuable outcome of Novelog, on the basis of which each one of the data collection happening in all the cities of Novelog has been implemented. Fourth, tools. We have developed tools. Tools and methods for substantiating the tools. The tools are available in this address, and there are 4 of them, and I will, in summary, tell you what each one of them is doing. We have 4 tools for 4 steps. Understanding the city tool is about creation of consensus and definition of the future states of UFT in the cities. Then is the toolkit focus, assess the applicability of certain UFT measures to the different cities categories. So we support the people to select UFTs for their cities. Then the evaluation tool, so assess the impact of the implementations. And finally, the guidance tools, the one that guides the cooperation between the different actors and the development of business models dedicated for city logistics and cooperative city logistics measures implementation. So this is the first, understanding the city tool. What is understanding the city tool? It is a stakeholder governance platform. It is also a Delphi and Prometheus web-enabled procedure for consensus building between the different actors. It's also a dashboard for UFT comparison and benchmarking, and is also a methodology for identifying influential factors and city characteristics on the basis which we can define the description of UFT in each one of the cities. And this is the type of benchmarking we can create for different cities and see how critical parameters, operational parameters differentiate from the one city to the other, and then identify our position and follow in the next. The Novelog toolkit relates city typology and measures. As I said, we have collected all the pilots implementations in Europe and outside Europe, and we have organized them in a database. So based on a typology procedure that we have created, we give the possibility through an interactive interface, each city planner each city stakeholder to specify what is the characteristics and their needs, and then some of these measures will be prompted to the user as solutions for being undertaken by the city. Third tool, the novelog-evalog, is a tool allowing ex post and ex ante evaluation of UFT measures. It's an electronic library for alternative methodology for quantifying evaluation indices for sustainability of UFT. It is also a tool that gives you the possibility to make life cycle analysis of the UFT measures implementation. And finally, it's a tool which calculates an sustainability index for urban freight transport in a city, and therefore gives the possibility to continue and assess the improvements in a city following the implementation of UFT measures. Finally, the novelog guidance tool for cooperative business models is a tool that defines dedicated business models for UFT measures. I don't give a lot of details on that because there are different sessions where colleagues of mine, they're going to introduce what we have identified as business models for specific UFT measures. Then is the multi-stakeholder platform mixture organization operation guidance. So which stakeholders with which percentage they should be involved in order to have a balanced stakeholder platform planning for UFT in the cities. And finally, what we call yellow badges for UFT, so commonly asked questions by local authorities and private stakeholders, what to do, how to do it. We give answers in this based on the experience of the project. Fifth outcome is the methodology for transferability through the novelog city typology for selecting UFT measures. This is a methodology that is embedded in the novelog toolkit, but I mention it here because taking into account different parameters regarding the problems, the objectives of the city morphology, the UFT markets, the stakeholders and others, also the nature of the business model, we create an approach with criteria, grid approach, giving the possibility to a city to identify what is the status of their UFT, what are the main parameters, and how they should proceed in the future. So the results that has been achieved in a city, they can be then transferred through that way in another city. Sixth, minimum database describe UFT for regular collection. This is what Zardar mentioned as observatory. We believe that in each one of the cities, they should collect the data and regularly update this data. And this should be done through local authorities' incentives towards the industrial partners. Also, recommendations for regulations are on the table for data provisioning by the industry of this minimum data set. Not asking all of them, but asking just a few data sets, and this has been come out from the stakeholders of all in all the cities of Novelog. The last is the valid stakeholder operational agreements. The experience that we had in the cities, they has been institutionalized and formalized. Here you see a partnership agreement, is a service level agreement for the freight network that has been made in Copenhagen, and we're going to we propose this as a best practice, and we multiply this in different cities. And here is the permit that has been given for Novelog in the touring for the ITS implementation. That's all for us. We finished on May, and we invite you to join us, to join through the population of the information that we have in the tools, with the use of the tools. We're going to have cooperation with a satellite project, a CIVITAS satellite project for the tools, and we will continue to make the tools available for the cities to use and to maximize the input and the impact of the tools. Thank you.